Here is the end result of a two-piece zombie prosthetic applied. This is Maile. Here are the two-piece prosthetics that I pulled from a silicone mold using Graftobian clear latex. Hello folks, this is Philippe. Welcome to my YouTube channel. The white stuff on the side of her face, her cheeks, is just baby powder. I was just trying to find the right size prosthetic to use. The upper prosthetic I'm going to place a little higher to make room for the lower prosthetic. Many have asked how long does it take to do makeup like this, and we're going to find out now. And we're off. One of the first mistakes I make out of the gate is I put on too much prosade. But I'll do my best to spread it around. I'm going in with a blow dryer to accelerate the drying with the cool setting on. Normally, I put the lower prosthetic first, but I want to get the upper prosthetic as high as I can to make room for the lower prosthetic. The area around her mouth is kind of small, so I want to overcompensate, and sometimes you have to do this based on the person's features. Sometimes you have to overcompensate and place things a little off so it looks and fits better. I know where the prosthetic is placed doesn't make quite much sense, but once you see the end result, it'll kind of make sense. And as you can tell, she has small lips, so again, we're overcompensating to make sure that we have enough room so the prosthetic stays on and fits properly. Again, I'm going with some prosade, and I'm putting too much. Okay, sometimes when you're rushing, you kind of overdo things like I'm doing here, and I'm slapping on this prosade like it was cold cream. So don't make that mistake. You don't need that much prosade. And again, I'm going in with a blow dryer with a cool setting on to help make it dry. I was going to say tacky, but we don't need to make it tacky. We need to dry it. I have to admit, this little timer is making me nervous. And yes, I do stumble, but I'll continue. And, I'm filming this, so you'll see my mistakes. But it's okay. This is how I learn. This is how I teach myself. And videotaping myself, I'm picking up little things that, that I could correct and, And trust me, when I put too much prosade on, you may think, well, that's not so bad. Well, you can cut more time by not applying as much prosade, just enough to make it tacky, and it'll cut the drying time in half. Here I go in with the lower prosthetic. And the way I applied it, I should have applied that prosthetic in its natural state instead of stretching it out. If you notice, one of the edges folded under. That was a big mistake there. But we'll see about blending those edges. So today I decided to trim my fingernails. Here's me trying to pull and lift up the prosthetic so I can trim it. Notice the way I trim it. I don't trim it near the face, near the skin. I pull it out at least about a ½ inch and I trim. Now, if you're a little scared about using scissors around the face, use the type of scissors that have a round tip. Do you see what I'm doing? In some of the areas where I'm trying to spread out the prosthetic, you want to do this while the prosthetic is still wet. You don't want to do this while it's dry. So I'm adding some more prosthetic. So I'm not just adding prosthetic to make it stick, I'm also trying to add a little bit of texture and trying to hide those edges. In my next video, I will show you how to really blend those edges much better. Again, I'm timing myself and I'm kind of rushing, like I said earlier. I'm going in with Graftobian FX Air alcohol palettes. I'm using the Taboo palette. And the color that I'm using is orange. I'm blotting it on because I'm going to add some color to the area to compensate for when I go over with airbrushing. So it doesn't make quite sense now, but you have to understand that this, even though this is a clear latex, it doesn't have much pigment, so if I airbrush over it, it's going to be much lighter, okay? So I go in with a little bit of orange, or you can go in with a little bit of red. I dry that area, so that way it doesn't move. And if you notice with the orange, I didn't paint over the teeth because I don't need those teeth to go to be painted. I'm using an airbrush. The color that I'm using is Graftobian FX Air. The color is Corpse Flesh. So notice how in some of the areas where I'm airbrushing, that it kind of balances out to the rest of the face. Also, when you're airbrushing, sometimes you might want to go back and blend those edges much better. I'm going to blow dry it to help accelerate the drying. Okay, so from my angle, there was an edge that needed to be corrected. Again, I pull it away from the face about a 1/2 inch and I trim it. So that way there's no way of me puncturing her or poking her with the scissors. Again, if you don't feel comfortable using the scissors like that, get yourself some little scissors. They have the round tip. I reapply some prostate to that area to help blend it better. Now look at those rough edges. You can really see some rough edges. Now I'm going to show you how I disguise it. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, he's going to paint those edges to help disguise it. Actually, you'll see pretty soon my technique when I paint. I'm going in with maroon color. So with this erratic type painting, I'm just depositing color, laying down color where I want shadows. Again, there's no excuse for those rough edges. I should have blended those edges much better. Or I should have made a thinner edge on my prosthetic. But remember, she had a small face, so I had to trim the prosthetic. So that's why you see that really blunt cut line. But don't worry too much. It's not going to show much when you see the end result. I'm using my eyeshadow brush to help soften up the area. But remember that eyeshadow brush is very porous and will pick up color when blending. So remember to dry that brush in between blending, or it will go from blending to depositing color. Yes, I use my fingers too. Around the mouth, I'm just depositing some color. I'm not worried about detail yet. So I'm just going around the neck. And I have to admit those lines on the neck are kind of sloppy. I could have done a better job. So when you go with the cream color, you don't need to use that much cream color. Okay, because the more cream color that you use, the harder it's going to be to try to soften up that area. Okay. Again, I'm using my eyeshadow brush to help soften up that area. So I'm going in with my fine tip brush to help draw some erratic lines. Okay, so these are not really flowing lines. They're kind of just age lines to give her skin the appearance of decaying old skin. She's a zombie, so you want to try to create that effect. So I'm going to do some lines across the nose. And I'm going to go around the nostril area. And I'm going to soften it up with my eyeshadow brush. So I'm using a little bit too much cream color here, and I may go in with some more airbrush makeup to help balance it out a little bit. Yeah, so here I go with some airbrush makeup to help tone it down a little bit. I felt like there was a little too much red. And that's another thing, if you put too much color, like I did here, my mistake is when you start blending, and if it's too much color on the face, it'll get all over the place, and it'll change the whole dynamic and of the type of makeup you're doing. And you can't have depth and contrast when the whole face is one color. Okay, so you want to make sure that you just put enough in that area, but not too much where it just changes everything. I'm going in with Graftobian Air FX alcohol palettes. I'm using the Injured palette. I'm using Clotted Red. So I'm adding back some depth, some hard lines that I just softened previously with the cream color, then with eyeshadow brush. So you want to be careful around the eye area when you're using alcohol palettes. I'm putting makeup on her eyelid, okay, but not near the lash line. I'm going into the teeth area with my fine tip brush, not teeth brush or toothbrush. Again, at this angle, you can see the hard edges of that prosthetic. So I'm going in a little too thick between the teeth. Now, if you put too much makeup around the teeth area using alcohol pellets, what you can do is get yourself a Q-tip and wet it with some 99% alcohol and go over those teeth, and that will liquefy that area, okay, and it'll thin it out, so that makeup will retreat to those little crevices, and you'll be able to keep the detail. Now notice that hard edge. A lot of people will maybe try to do a, they'll try to blend it by using parallel lines, but the lines that I'm doing here are straight across, horizontal. So your blending of that prosthetic shouldn't be too obvious where, you're going to go direct in that area to blend that edge. Notice I just used some lines that went across instead of going up and down. And notice how it becomes less noticeable. One of the big mistakes that I made is I should have put more detail underneath the eye. Again, videotaping myself, I'm learning some stuff here too. So what was I thinking? Thinking I could get this done in 20 minutes. We're going on 22 minutes. I have her open up her mouth so I can paint those lips. See how high I have that prosthetic? But when she closes her mouth, they meet. And that's the end result that I want her prosthetic. Okay, because these are things you have to kind of plan out in your mind. Like, okay, how is this going to lay on her face? Okay, you put the lower and the upper prosthetic in and say, okay, this is where I need to place it. It may not make sense in the beginning, but the end result will make sense. Again, those lines between the teeth I should have made thinner. Again, you could thin it out by adding some alcohol and a swab to thin out the paint and show more of the teeth. And you'll still be able to retain detail because when it thins out, that paint will go to those little crevices between her teeth. So just by looking at myself do makeup videotaping, even though I'm doing it, I'm too close to really get a perspective of how it looks. So at this point, I'm not able to like stand back and look at it. I didn't pause to look at it. I'm just going nonstop. And by looking at it this way, I'm learning things about myself and things that I need to improve on. Because these videos are not just me showing how to do makeup. I'm showing you a way to do makeup. So there's many different ways to do makeup, and this is just a way. You take what I teach you here or what you learn here and you make it your own. And I have no idea why I just painted a number 4 on her neck, but I did. So again, this is a learning process, okay? I'm just documenting what I'm doing and how I do it. I like using these alcohol palettes by Graftobian Right now I'm adding some redness around the mouth, so it looks like dripping blood. I guess I could have used actual blood or stage blood. So with these lights, everything looks a little bit lighter than it should. Okay, so I have the light so she's well lit. So you can see all my mistakes basically. You can see all the little things I should have improved and done much better. Right now I'm just applying some makeup on her neck. And I think I overdid it with the smudging around the neck. I lost some detail, but it'll have to do for right now because I gotta finish this up pretty quick. I'm going around her hairline a little bit to add some color. I should have added some color to the top of her forehead. So here we go. I'm done at 25 minutes, 42 seconds, and 7 seconds. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Please subscribe and like this video. Thank you.